Celebrating this New Year's Eve with more wonderful, talented people, including the lovely person I have in front of me, Natalie Douglas. She has done cabaret and nightclub singing as well as now recording. She put out a CD in 2024, and she couldn't be with us live on this night's show because she's kind of busy doing a concert on New Year's Eve, and I hope it went great. But tell us, how was your 2024, Natalie Douglas?
Hello, how are you? 2024 has been bumpy. I'm not gonna lie. Some good things, some definitely not so good things, but still hanging in there, still doing my best. And happy to, have another year on the cusp.
What was one of the good things that happened in 24?
Sure. One of the great things, well, as you said, I just put out a new album. This is my fourth album, but it's my first album with a label. I was signed to Club 44 Records, and they've been so good to me, and I love working with all of them. And so this is my first label under my first album under their auspices, and I'm really proud of it. I love it very much. It's called Back to the Garden, and we've got a lot of critical acclaim and won an award here and there. And it just that kind of work always takes a lot to get done. There's a long period of birthing, and then when you finally hold it in your hands, it's amazing. And now it exists forever, and it's available streaming and everywhere.
And everywhere. Now, here's a question. You're going to be back at Birdland in February. Will you
Yeah.
still be doing that album stuff and pushing that album, or are you going to be kind of morphing into new material by then?
Well, I think there's a couple things on that album that are in that show, but I think that show is going to be a new version of a show that we did in 2017 and haven't really done since in New York. It's our tribute to Sammy Davis Jr. Next year would have been Sammy's 100th, his centennial, so in 2025. So I thought doing my first New York show in 2025, we would celebrate Sammy and bring some of my favorite and some of the Sammy hits, but also some of the more obscure things. And back when I created the show, I read all the bios, including both of the books he wrote about his life, which, by the way, don't agree with each other.
Oh, wait, one of the
Which,
books was Sammy Davis Jr., Yes, I Can. Was the
yes,
other He
exactly.
Couldn't?
Yeah.
Just wondering.
I did. I read the books that he wrote, and I read the bios about him that he didn't write. And he was a legendary figure. He was in show business from the age of 3, so there are a lot of great stories. And of course, we don't know. I'm sure some of them are apocryphal, but they're still great stories. And I grew up loving him, watching him on television, and he's just somebody I love to celebrate. So that's going to be February 17th at Birdland, which is, I think, President's Day.
Oh,
Um, it's a
well, let me
holiday.
ask you.
Yeah.
I'm
So,
going to put you on the spot just a little bit. What
sure.
an apocryphal story or no, non-apocryphal story
Yeah.
that you hope people will tell about you in like 50 years?
Oh, oh wow. Uh, um, I do, wow, that's a really good question.
All right.
I hadn't thought of that. Well, I guess the big story about my life is that I grew up not knowing that I was adopted. Um, I was I had wonderful parents who were funny and entertaining and gave me a lot of opportunities and were smart and political and musical. And but I thought I was their biological child. As I always say, my mother told me stories about her pregnancy with me, and the only reason that's extremely funny is because she was also a psychologist.
Wow.
And that story was completely made up. But I had a great family. I love my family. My godfather was the mayor of Los Angeles for 20 years, Tom Bradley. He was my mom's cousin. So I grew up in a political family, and I loved all the opportunities that provided. Um, and then about 20, what is it now, 25 years ago almost, a cousin of mine came to New York and saw me in a show. And she was sitting with my husband, and she told my husband, Natalie knows she's adopted, right? And my husband said, no, no, and we can't talk about this. There's a show going on. And after the show, he said, no, you have to tell her. And she was hesitant because apparently my mother had never wanted me to know, and she was the matriarch of the family, and everybody did what she said. Um, and uh, and she said, my husband said, no, no, you have to. And she told me the next night, just like that, which was you know, I mean, it opened my eye. Wow, it made everything different, made nothing different. You know what I mean? My childhood was
Yeah.
still my childhood, and then I guess it's now 6 years ago. I had the great pleasure of finding my biological father, finding my birth parents, and my bio dad and I were really really close. He turned out to be a great guy, and I'm very proud of him. A major player in San Francisco. He was one of the founding members of the Black Student Union at San Francisco State. He was affiliated with the Panthers and City Hall. He was sort of a liaison between them. In fact, he was the liaison between the Hearst family and the SLA. When they kidnapped Patty, he went to college with her brother, and he was a major community figure in the Fillmore. And the SLA didn't trust the family or the FBI to give, one of their ransom demands was to give money and food and like diapers and formula to people, underprivileged people in that community. And they didn't trust that they would really do it. So my dad was the person who was the go-between because they trusted him. They knew he had been part of the community for so long.
God, where did he
So
find the time to make you?
just before that,
Yeah.
just before that.
Well,
Yeah.
Natalie,
So that
it's wow. What
yeah.
again? The story
I
that
know it's that I say it sounds like that story can't possibly be true, and there's so many other elements to it. But like that's a story I think
yeah,
people, if they tell a story about me long gone,
that would be the well. We
yeah,
are
that would be the one.
that you are part of our family here in the
Ah, thank
neighborhood.
you.
We wish you a most happy new year. Everybody go see her at Birdland in February and buy the album as well, and the other three
Please do.
albums too.
Yeah, yeah,
Please.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're all available on, Amazon and iTunes and oh, I know. Dolly Parton has the best quote for what that question you asked. When Dolly says, when people ask her, "Hey, Dolly, what do you want people to say about you 100 years from now?" And Dolly Parton says, "I want them to say she looks good."
That is great. That is great. You look great. You sound great.
Thank
Everybody
you.
go hear her and
Good to
see
see
her.
you.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Bye.